Hey guys, what's up? So I'm back with another video, and today it is going to be my October wrap up. And I actually read a significant amount of books in October with being in college. I'm pretty sure I read like 11 or 12 or 13, somewhere in that number range. And I am excited to tell you about them because this has actually been a very good reading month for me. And I am super excited that I'm almost at like 100 books for this year, which wasn't my reading goal for Goodreads. It was at like 70 or something, but I keep like on changing it because I keep reading more and more. So let's just get started. So the first two books I read and finished in the month of October were The Slippery Slope and The Grim Grotto by LittleMissBelleXX, and these are the 10th and 11th books in the Series of Unfortunate Events series, and I rated them both 4 out of 5 stars. They are an enjoyable read, but they still are very dark books. These two are probably my least favorite books in the series. They didn't pack much in it. The Grim Grotto definitely had a better ending, I believe, but that's just about it. Didn't really have any specific eye-popping parts in the book. So those were the only two books that I don't actually have with me. The rest of the books are physical copies, so I'm just going to jump right in, and now they are in no particular order as to how I read them during this month, but I just read them. Next, I read Hurt 2.0 by Chap Clark, and I had to read this for my youth culture class, and let me tell you, this book was the most boring book I have ever read in my entire life. It was very contradicting, controversial, and a lot of it was very outdated. And I would definitely not recommend it. I mean, a lot of you guys probably aren't youth ministry majors like me, and you probably won't actually have to ever read this. But if you actually want to read it, then I would suggest you not. A lot of the class didn't like it. It was very complicated, and it wasn't fun to read, and I wanted nothing more than to just throw this book out the window because I didn't like it that much. I have one sticky here, and I don't really know why. Oh, that's where I had ended. I didn't actually read the full book. I skimmed it, but I still left the bookmark in there. So I believe I rated this 2 out of 5 stars. I did not like it at all. Yeah, Hurt 2.0 by Chap Clark. The next books I read were the first 4 books in the Harry Potter series. I know this is only 3. I do not know where the first book is. Our room is a bit messy as of right now, so I wasn't going to go and root for it, but I read The Sorcerer's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, The Prisoner of Azkaban, and The Goblet of Fire. And it's so great being back in this world again. I definitely am excited to continue reading on these books because they make me so happy. Like, how can you not like Harry Potter? It's just, they're absolutely amazing books. And once again, the third book is still my all-time favorite book, and it's the only book that doesn't deal with, like, Voldemort trying to come kill Harry, which is super awesome. And my love for Sirius started in this book, and I'm just so excited to be back with my babies. So obviously I gave these books all 5 out of 5 stars. If I could, I'd give them 6 out of 5 stars, but Goodreads only allows 5 out of 5 stars, so that's what I gave them. The next book is Wonderstruck by Brian Selznick. I was super excited going into this book because it's a Brian Selznick book, and the first book I read by him was wonderful, and I absolutely enjoyed it, but this one, I didn't enjoy it as much. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It has 2 stories that combine into one at the end, and there was just some plot holes that just didn't seem logical, and the story was a bit confusing at times with how things were worded or panned out, and it left me with some questions afterwards. So I'm definitely not as satisfied with this as I was with Marvels by Brian Selznick. I think that's the book. I could be completely wrong, and I could be saying like the new book title, but the other Brian Selznick book I read. So I wasn't too happy about this. Still had amazing illustrations though, which I'm super excited about because I love the illustrations in this book. Like, they are so in depth, like, and they're just so gorgeous. So I definitely wouldn't recommend this book as your first Brian Selznick read because it isn't that great, but it was still a somewhat good read for this month. The next book I read was for my lit class, and one of the ones that I was probably more excited about for this month, and that was The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. And as you can tell, I have stickied this up quite a bit. I rated this book 5 out of 5 stars. This was a reread for me, and I just love this book so much. It's set in Germany during the Nazi reign, and this family ends up hiding a Jew in their basement, and things just escalate from there. And if you haven't read this book, I definitely recommend you read it because it is one of the greatest books I have read. It's probably in my top 10 favorites because it's that good. And Marcus Zusak is an amazing writer, and the fact that this book was written from the point of view of death, which that is not a spoiler, you will find that out within the first like 2 pages, is very interesting. I've never read a book in the point of view of death, so I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed rereading it because it's such a beautiful and heartbreaking book. And I definitely did cry at the end. Again, I sobbed. So 5 out of 5 stars for The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. The next book is Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, and I rated this 3 out of 5 stars. I did mark this up, but that is for conversational points in my lit circle. I have a book review of this posted on my channel, so I will link that in the description down below. This is about a boy named Holden Caulfield, and he ends up getting kicked out of his school and wanders around New York for a couple days. And I didn't like this book. It wasn't realistic. It was not confusing. It was just annoying at parts, and it was very repetitive. So I wasn't too fond of it, and I'm really sorry if this is your favorite book and you watch my review and I'm just bashing the book. But it wasn't that good. It kept me intrigued enough to keep on reading it and not put it down, so I mean, that's a plus. The next book I read, which was more of my spookier, scarier reads, was Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and I rated this 3 out of 5 stars. And this is about this creator named Frankenstein who creates this human, and he thinks it's the most horribly ugly thing ever. I did not enjoy this book. It wasn't my favorite, and I don't understand why everybody loves it. And I don't understand why people say this is scary because not once was it scary to me. So I was a bit disappointed and let down with this book. Everybody raves about it and everybody loves it, but I did not see that at all. At times it was very confusing, it was very dull and bland, and I just wasn't a fan of it. So 3 out of 5 stars. And then the last and final book I read in the month of October is Go Set a Watchman by Harper Lee. Now, I went into this, I was super scared to read this because I didn't want it to ruin To Kill a Mockingbird for me, which it didn't. But when you go into reading this, you definitely need to push To Kill a Mockingbird aside and not compare it to this book at all. That will ruin your reading experience. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. It was definitely interesting seeing a grown-up Scout, seeing her more mature a bit, seeing her more ladylike, even though she's still her tomboy self. And it was nice seeing her with a love interest, and it was interesting reading how things panned out. So, I mean, I would recommend you reading this. Definitely does not compare to Kill a Mockingbird because that's the most amazing book in the history of ever. But my tips, if you read this book, please do not go into it comparing it to Kill a Mockingbird. Don't sit there and say, oh, well, this didn't happen, because it's not. This is a book that was written before To Kill a Mockingbird, published after To Kill a Mockingbird, so comparing it to Kill a Mockingbird would not do this book justice. Overall, it was a nice read. I enjoyed it. Let's do some book stacking here. Alright, so these are all the books that I read in the month of October. There in total there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That is wrong. 10 and 11. Forgot. 2 books I don't have with me. So overall, I'm pretty sure I had a very good reading month. A lot of these were very solid reads, and I am excited that I read this month, and I hope that I get to read about this much this month. So yeah, I'm gonna put these down because my wrist feels like it's gonna fall off. So if you like this video, please give it a huge thumbs up and hit that red button down below to subscribe to my channel if you would like to be notified of any more videos I post in the future. Tell me what you read in the comments down below in the month of October, and what books were your favorite or your least favorite, and what you plan on reading in the month of November. And until next time, bye guys. Of this book, leave them in the comments down below because I definitely would love to know what you think, if you agree, if you disagree, and I'm up for some hearty discussion about this book, and I will not be offended